Let's talk about syntax of Python. And what I mean by syntax is you can think of it like the grammar of the Python language. It doesn't make sense to the Python interpreter to write code that is not grammatically correct or not syntactically correct according to Python. And so it will cause errors, it will break the code, it will not work. So that's what I mean by syntax. There's five things I want you to know with regards to syntax. And number one, as we just mentioned, was syntax will cause errors. Syntax issues will cause errors. Number two, indentation is important in Python. In some languages like C++ or Java or others, it doesn't matter how you indent, besides that it looks cleaner. The code will still understand it. In Python, indentation, if not done appropriately according to how Python likes it to be done, will break things. So indentation is important. And every time we see a colon or run into certain blocks of code, which we'll get into later, and there's a few more scenarios, we need to indent. It's just the grammar of Python. So remember, indentation is important. Thirdly, comments is a syntactical component of Python, and we can make comments with a hashtag, as it's sometimes referred to, or the pound symbol, or triple quotes. And these are uh, lines of text that are not interpreted by Python. It essentially will ignore it. It's only for humans to read, for the most part. So comments can be done that way. That's a syntactical part of Python. Another big syntax thing is one statement per line. You can't do more than one thing on a line, usually. And keywords, there are certain keywords that have special meaning and they can't be assigned otherwise. So we could not assign any of these as a variable name. We could not put them in the code anywhere. Yeah, because Python will look for these words and try to do certain things when it sees them. So those are reserved keywords. So those are the five important points that I want you to know about syntax as an overview. And here are a few examples. We've got some bad examples on the left and some good examples on the right. Here over on the left, and I'm running these in an IDE called PyCharm, and I've screenshotted them, and we will actually use PyCharm later on in this course. But it does a great job at highlighting for us syntax errors and telling us what they are. So that's why I've done those screenshots here. So this first example, we see we don't have an indented area on the next line after this colon, after this if statement. We need to have indentation, as we see here. That's one of those rules of Python, part of the grammar of Python. This next example, we cannot do more than one thing generally on the same line. So here we're trying to assign this variable and we're trying to assign this other variable on the same line. And Python doesn't like that. It's expecting the end of that line. So we can assign those variables on two different lines, as we see there. Now, also, another indent issue with another grammar part of Python, which is called a while loop. It's expecting an indent, as we see here. So just remember, indentation is important. So if we indent that, we don't get any issues. And I'm showing an example of the a keyword trying to be assigned and throwing an error, whereas we need to just come up with another name. We can't use that false name in our variable. Let's just look at one syntax error in Python. If we are expecting an indentation. So we can say if x, we'll create a variable called x, assign it to the value of 5. If x is greater than 5, print yes. Just something simple, and then we'll hit enter again. Okay, x is not greater than 5, so it does not print yes. If x is greater than 5, now what if we have no spaces here? No indentation. Python cannot work with that because we're disobeying the grammar of Python. Let me show you an example of a comment. If we add that hashtag or pound symbol, and we can type whatever we want. It does not have to obey any rules with Python because Python, the interpreter, ignores it. Okay, so that did not throw an error, and we can continue writing our code. Same with triple quotes. This is just a way to have multiple lines of comment, and then we end it with triple quotes. And it just with idle, it prints that out, but it's not actually it's not actually doing anything. It's just showing that for our benefit. And one comment is that if we have these triple quotes assigned to a variable, like we did with story earlier on, then it then interprets that as a string. So differences between a multi-line comment and a string is that a multi-line comment is not assigned to a variable, and that's how we know that it's a comment and not a string. So there's a few notes for you on syntax of Python.